Good morning. It's now 11 o'clock, and I'm going to call to order the Electric Utility Board meeting. Please, when you speak, if each of you, I think, have a microphone, you'll just press the little button and see a green light if you're going to speak. The first order of business, I would like to welcome our new board member, Dr. Craig Ryan. Dr. Ryan has lived in Lubbock for years and years, a product of the Health Sciences Center, and a trauma surgeon on many boards in the state, and we're delighted you said yes, so welcome aboard.
Thank you very much, Gwen.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone that signed up to speak for public comments? No, nobody wanted to come out this morning. Does the council need to convene too, Mr. Mayor? So if you want to do that.
Yeah, we'll call council into session at this time. It is 11:01 on November the 13th, and council is now in session.
Okay. If there's no one to speak, I'm going to call the board into executive session. We're going to recess into executive session in accordance with 1 VTCA Government Code 551.086 on competitive matters of LP&L, 2 VTCA Government Code 551.071 seeking advice of and consultation with LPL's attorneys on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Government Code and seeking advice of its attorneys about pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers, and VTCA Government Code 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, and or duties of a public officer or employee, the director of the utilities, or the chief administrative officer or general counsel. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Gwen. City Council at this time will also hold an executive session today for the purpose of consulting with city staff regarding competitive matters of the Public Power Utilities section under Section 551.086 of the Texas Government Code, pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers, and hold consultation with attorney under Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, and personnel matters under Section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. We are now in executive session.
Do we want to, is the plan to, can we be in executive session a little while and then break to eat, or what is the board's pleasure? To get our food first or talk a little bit first? It's kind of early still. It is now 12:31, and I'll call the Electric Utility Board back into open session. The first thing, number 7 on the agenda, is to approve the minutes from our regular board meeting on October 17th and our special board meeting on October 23rd. Are there any additions or corrections or revisions to those minutes? If not, Mr. Schultz moves to approval.
Second.
And Mr. Odom seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion carries. Number 8, Joel, is that you?
That would be me, Madam
Okay.
Chair. Thank you. Just want to call to the board's attention, tomorrow, the city council will have the second reading of the ordinance that you all approved previously that changed the calculation of the franchise fee equivalent and the pilot onto a kilowatt hour type basis instead of a gross receipts basis. So that is, right now, it's sitting on consent on their agenda tomorrow to be finalized.
Okay, so on second reading and consent, then is adopted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Also, Matt has already done at least one town hall, and he's looking to do another one tonight. And so, as part of that, Texas Tech had asked us to do one, and so they're getting the losing end of that deal because they're getting me.
Uh-oh.
And so we're trying to divvy up the responsibilities and the duties and get as much of these done as we possibly can, because we really, really want to get the word out. So if you all have any opportunities, employee groups or churches or anything else where we have the opportunity to do this, let us know and we'll try to accommodate that the best we can, please. This is all about getting into customer choice. Just don't know if there's anything you want to talk about for our Wednesday with our luncheon that we're having with the past board
I
members.
think that might be just nice for you to mention that to everyone.
So the chair and I had talked 5-6 months ago about trying to get the past board members together, past utility directors or anybody like that. And the thinking was this would be a good way to build more ambassadors out in the community with people who already had a pretty good feel for what this utility was all about. With the delay that hit, we just kind of put that on a pause. And to Madam Chair's credit, she prodded me just a little bit, and we got Olivia going on trying to get something set up. So we are set up for this to happen this coming Wednesday at the Cotton Court. And so far, we got pretty good attendance, so I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a really good way to reengage and to acknowledge the past service that these folks did, because, you know, we're all standing on the shoulders of the people that came before us. That's just how that goes. So we're really looking forward to a good meeting that day with those folks.
Is it the Cotton Court, 11:30 to 1? And some of you may know about Delbert McDougall. His services are at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, so you'll certainly have time to attend this luncheon. And the feedback I've gotten, I think some of them are thrilled. And I think one of the most thrilled is Olivia, because she gets to see all of these folks that she helped raise.
Very well. Unless there's any questions for me, I think we'll get right into the meat of these things.
Were we going to talk about the ERCOT and
Oh,
the grid, or are you going to let Carolyn do that?
you want to do that?
Happy to. I think Gwen had raised a question about the news reports that one of the PUC commissioners was expected to resign and the independent market monitor was expected to resign. Yeah. And, I don't have any inside information on it, but I know that Carrie Bivens, who is an employee of Potomac Economics, which is a national and respected economics firm that has been serving as the market monitor for several years since it was first created. She has been fairly critical in the last year about the decisions that have been made to create new services, capacity services that everybody in ERCOT has to pay for. And I think what her view was that we were taking money that would have gone to ancillary services and asking people to take their generation out of the real-time market and pay them to hold it in reserve. And the idea was, we'll pay you to hold it there in case we need it. But then they ended up having to pay for a lot of ancillary services in addition to that. And so she had estimated at one time, a month or so ago, that she thought that it was it cost the ERCOT market this year $8 to $10 billion additional cost that was really not buying any real reliability. That's how I understand the way she was explaining it. So I think that she may be resigning, just feeling like that her role is, I don't know why she's resigning. I could speculate, but I don't know that makes much sense. But she clearly has been critical and is leaving. And Will McAdams has been a very valuable member of the Public Utility Commission and has a lot of insight and has been a workhorse in terms of some of the issues that they have worked on. And it's reported that he's resigning too. So after the special session ends, the fourth session, if that's the last one, the governor may appoint someone. If he appoints someone to one seat that's empty now, then that person, if they are not confirmed before the end of the session, they will have to leave. So it's been expected that this empty seat he would not fill until all the special sessions were over, so that person could continue to serve. So it may be that the governor will have 2 seats to fill. But.
Matt, any insights from your world that you want to talk about? I just think it's helpful for the board to understand with us moving to ERCOT, the moving parts in that political world.
Sure, and what Carolyn said is absolutely right. And if you looked at this weekend, there were several news reports statewide that confirmed almost exactly what she said. So all of us right now are really just reacting to what we're seeing other people's statements are in the news. I don't have, like Carolyn, any concrete news in terms of who these people are if they're leaving and where they're going to. But it does look like right now, at least, that one Commissioner McAdams has said publicly that it's his intent to move on from this, along with Kerry Bivens. And so we'll see what happens on that. But ultimately, every time you're looking into a new session, there's going to be some of these seats to fill, especially since we have 5 as opposed to just 3 before.
Yeah.
So we'll keep looking downstate and react up here accordingly. So.
Thank you. Joel, is there anything else under number 8 that you want to talk about?
No, ma'am, unless there's any questions of me or the staff, we're ready to move to 9.
Any questions of Joel? If not, number 9, is this the Harvey Show? Oh, Casey's here. Oh, good. It was last month you weren't here, is that correct?
You're here the month before. I think it was the month before I
Okay.
wasn't here.
Well, you always like it when you're here.
So we're gonna be going through our September financials. We're in the middle of audit right now, so some of these numbers could very well change. I don't see them changing a ton, but I don't want to tell you these are concrete when we don't know. Oh. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so starting with our cash position, you can see we have an increase over last year of $56.1 million. So if you look over at your cash flows, and I know I've been showing y'all a month-to-month comparison, but since we are in September, I'm going to be doing a year-to-year comparison this time. So in our cash flows, you can see in our operating activities, we're at $83.4 million. So we do have an increase of about $40 million from last year. Now, if y'all remember, we ended last year under collected by $21 million. So that was, we made that up this year. So that's going to be part of that. And then another part of it's going to be our positive net position we ended this year with. If you look into our financing activities, our financing activities, you can see that we have a negative amount, a lot greater than last year, but the majority of that's going to be we issued a bond last year. So that was $65 million there. And then also we have about $10 million more in our capital spending this year than we did last year. And then in our investing activities, you can see that we ended the year a positive cash flow of $75 million. So that's going to be the bond drawdowns as well as the extra $20 million we had that we moved from the restricted to unrestricted. And then last year, you'll see we ended at a negative due to a loss on investments. So going back to our liabilities, you can see we have a decrease in our accounts payable. That's going to be due mostly to lower purchase power costs this September than we had last September. And then you can see our deferred revenues are at a positive $25.1 million this year. I can tell you right now, sorry, I'm going to point. This is going to change. So we book the next year's debt service requirements that we have to pay at the end of the year, but it's not going to change your overall liabilities because we're really just moving it from non-current to current. So our total net position for year end, we're up $16.5 million from last year. And I don't see that changing much, but it could change some. So moving on to our ratios. So I'm going to showing y'all our monthly and our quarterly ratios here. So our days cash, we're showing at 159 days over 71 last year. We were under collected last year, so that's going to be part of that. And then the money that we moved from restricted to non-restricted is going to be a big chunk of that as well. Our operating ratio, you do see a slight increase of 8.56 from 8.11, and that's going to be due to the higher expenses we had this year over last year, and I'll go over those expenses more in just a minute. Our current ratio, you can see that we moved from 1.83 to 2.6, and that's going to be, mostly due to the increase in cash that we saw. And our debt to total assets, you can see that we have a slight decrease from 60% to 57%. Although in this current fiscal year that we're in right now, that number is probably going to go back up with our next bond issuance that we're about to have. And then in our debt service coverage, you can see that we did have a slight decrease from 2.46 to 2.2. That's mostly because we did have a higher debt service this year than we did the year before, and our operating income was slightly lower than it was the year before. But we're still right in line with the APPA benchmark. And then our reserve requirement, you can see it was 84% last year at year end. Once again, that's because we were under collected. This year we're at 147% of our reserve requirement. Okay, moving on to the income statement. So if we look at our operating revenues compared to last year, we can see that we did have an overall decrease in charges for services, mostly due to our positive net position of $44 million. So that's being subtracted from the 357, whereas last year we had 18 added in because we were under collected. In our T-cost revenue, the net, we had about an increase of $3 to $4 million, and then we had about $1 million increase in our provision for bad debts. We did have a $3 million increase in our personal services. About half of that is from the cost of living adjustment that we had last year. And then purchase power stayed about the same as it was last year, not much of an increase there. Other services and charges, we see about a $4 million increase. The majority of that is due to insurance premiums that were increased over the year before. And then we also had an increase in advertising for the advertising and stuff we've done for our move into the retail market. And then, of course, we're going to have an increase in our depreciation expense because we have more assets this year than we did last year. So our operating income is at $47.7 million. And then looking at that budget to actuals, we're coming right in at budget in our purchase, fuel, and power charges for service and our hold harmless payment, slightly over budget on our T-cost revenues. And then you can also see that we stayed under budget on our departmental expenses at 90%. So all that combined, we're 120% over budget for our operating income for the year. Anybody have any questions for me?
What, go back to the charges for services. One more, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Why was that up so much, did you say?
It's the increased usage because it's not going to be just the purchase power. So it's going to be the increased usage over last year. And we're also in a positive net position.
Right,
So that's why we have to take that back out.
gotcha.
There's another piece too, that we did, if you don't mind me just.
No, go ahead.
Because we did decrease last year during the summertime, we decreased our rate,
Right.
our PCRF rate. And so, which led us into an uncollected deficit position at the end of last year. So when we went to recoup that cost, in other words, recoup that $21 million that we'd undercollected, when we raised that rate, it was by intention and by design to recoup that. And we not only, as she shared earlier in the financial statements, not only did we recoup that $21 million, we've got another $21 million in addition to that. And that's why you're seeing what looks like just about a $54 million jump. So part of it is volume, part of it is just the way that you manage your rates and what we charge your customers to get to that point.
So more so on the rates, not the volume, 'cause it's not like we've added that many folks. I mean, that's
No, it's not.
20% higher, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
No, you're
front of
fine.
you. It's like, so that really had to do with our rates, to your point.
Okay, yeah.
It was really it's rate driven to a certain degree. It is load driven, but for the most part, it's rate driven.
Okay.
That's what's driving it.
Any other questions?
One thing I wanted to share with the board too, that's really important about this year-to-year picture, is to go back and one, we're 5 months on the horizon of going into a very different world for our utility. We're going to be no longer a full utility. We're going to be a poles and wires company. We're entering into that period in a very strong cash position. So we've got $114 million worth of cash to work with. Our operating income is 20% over what we thought it would be. So we're entering into the market and into this condition in a very strong financial position. to be able to manage whatever lies ahead. Our rates are in place. And the reason why this is important is because actually just last week and this week, I'll get asked more questions by our rating agency saying, are you ready to enter into the market? And this is what they're judging us on, to say, we're going to give you a credit rating. How ready are you for this market? What's different about you now? What happens if this doesn't work out as planned? They want to know all these questions. And it really comes down to a couple things. One is our regulatory uncertainty is already covered. Our operational side is fully ready. So we're ready to the point of just cut over now on the physical side. And on the customer service side, all that infrastructure in the background, and it's great because Ashley's here too, but it's like all of that has been put into place. It has been tested. We have 37 participants now ready to go. That meant a lot to the rating agencies because that's what they wanted to hear. And not only that, they said, we see your financial picture as well. We're very comfortable with where you're going right now into the market. So she's sharing with you the financial piece. It's critical because we're getting questioned on this as we speak to get graded on for our rating. And the responses we're getting back to those questions is, you're in good shape. We like where you're going. We think you got it handled. We're hearing the right responses. That's what we're looking for. So I just wanted to put that as a backdrop because it was really critical what she shared.
I guess this question's for Harvey and Stacy. In terms of the past and LP&L, have we ever been in this strong a cash position in the previous years?
The only time that I've seen looking back would be right before we made the SPS hold harmless payment of $24 million. So that's the last time I've even seen it come close to this, what it is now. And it was higher, I think, by like 10 million or so. But I don't know off of just, operations alone if we have been.
Okay, so both of you feel pretty good about a go forward on the future of where we are cash wise and cash flow wise and getting out of the Power PCRF and just going to the TDU. You both feel pretty good about where we are financially.
We feel good about it, and the rating agencies that have taken all of our financial data and run it through their own models, because they'll ask us, because they'll double check everything we're doing and saying, and they'll run it through their own models, and they have their own analytics. They're saying, you look like you're in really good shape. So we're getting that confirmation, not just internally, but an external validation that we're in good shape.
Thank you both.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments or questions of Stacy? We're always glad when we have you.
Remember, it's Casey.
Casey, do it every time. Come it.
I can just change it.
Okay.
Item 10.
Item 10.
Just a quick update to the board. In February of 2022, this board, or the board at the time, passed an irrevocable resolution to enter into retail competition in ERCOT. In order to enter into that, we had to satisfy 17 criteria, and the city council had to pass the same kind of resolution. They had 16 criteria. The reason there's a difference is one of the criteria in the boards is that the city council had to pass theirs. So we had 17, they had 16. That was the reason for that. We have been systematically going down the list and completing all these criteria that were in those resolutions. And I'm happy to say that we are on the cusp of being 100% done. I'm asking for a little bit of a leap of faith from the board, because one of the last criteria that we have to meet is the transition of the remaining load customers that are in the Southwestern Power Pool into ERCOT. That's going to happen as of 5 o'clock on Monday, December the 11th. So if we can get approval of this resolution today stating that we have met all the 17 criteria, then we will be taking the same thing to the city council for their approval on December 12th. So the day after we will have transitioned those customers will be when we have the final piece of that. If for whatever reason, weather comes in, we're not able to do it, I'll punt it to the first city council meeting in January. Otherwise, we're going to get that pushed through December 12th. I'm asking for it to happen in that fashion because we're opening the customer choice shopping window as of January 5th. And I want the retail market to understand that we have 100% met everything that we need to, and we're not looking back anymore. We've had too many delays and too many obstacles, and I think that we have just knocked them all down, and everybody's done a great job. So looking forward the approval of the resolution stating that we have met the criteria with the board so that then we can carry that to the city council on December 12th.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Fields. Second by Ms. Dr. Ramirez. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Oh, all opposed? No. The motion does carry. Number 11, I'm going to pass these out. These are the recommendations for our committee structure. Everything is basically the same. Dr. Ryan, we have added you to the Technical Review Committee. And the chairs, Mr. Wilson, you'll stay finance, Mr. Schultz, HR, Mr. Fields, customer engagement with your new name. And so I would ask, are there any changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept these new committee assignments.
So moved.
We just, we didn't post this for a vote, but I don't think it technically
It
requires a vote.
doesn't require a vote. I think it's is that right, Dan? The chair makes these appointments?
Correct.
But we do want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable that these are the appointments that they have, so.
Right, and also, the custom has always been, any committee is open to anyone, because we let you know, and you're certainly welcome. I know most of the time, people come to finance, Dan, so even if you're not officially on the committee, you're always welcome to attend that meeting. Okay, so you don't, this is just for
we don't need a
information
vote for
only.
this.
I'll move my movement off.
Number 12. Who is that? Okay. A lot of chairs to get around.
All right. So for this particular item, oh, someone was tall. Okay. I've got item 12, which is to consider a resolution for us to enter into a service agreement with Smart Meter Texas. This will be kind of our first phase of entering in the agreement with them, and then we will start actually doing implementations and integrations. This will allow both retailers and customers to be able to get interval data and any information about their meters, about their usage, service orders. Kind of becomes a customer self-service and rep self-service portal, which will alleviate some of our folks from having to provide that information.
Is this a one-time, the 425 is the startup? Will there be annual after this?
Yes, ma'am. So the 425 is the startup, and then our first payment is going to roughly be around $5,600. And then every year after that, per month, it's based on the percentage of easy IDs we have in the market,
Okay.
which compared to your monsters like Encore and the other ones, we have a very tiny amount.
Actually, don't we have another large expense coming along to get it fully incorporated?
Yes. So we had a CIP, which I think was project number 8688. This will help us with getting our consultants on board to help us integrate. There are some what we call APIs, which are real-time integrations. So we will have some costs that will go against the CIP that was pre-approved or already approved.
Okay, great. Is there a motion on Ashley's presentation of this resolution?
Chair, I'll move to approve.
Mr. Davis, motion, and second by Mr. Fields. All those approve, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, Ashley. Southwest Power for Pearl remaining load transfer. This is that license agreement. Is that what that is? Blair, is that you? Number 13. Uh-huh.
License agreement is number 14.
Oh, okay. This is the GIS data.
This is just an overall.
We'll get pogo sticks next time. Lets you hurdle everything.
So I was just going to make a brief introduction. Cody Kirk is operations manager. He's kind of orchestrated this move to transfer our remaining load to ERCOT, which is sometimes referred to as the 30%. So the amount of work that's going on behind the scenes between the Cody and the Cody show, you know, Cody with a C and Cody with a K, and Luke Miller and some of a lot of the folks that work for them it's just a tremendous amount of work that has gone to prepare to be able to make this a 3-day activity. The amount of going to inspect the lines, going to inspect switches, going to inspect circuits, you know, making sure we've got them mapped right, making sure we've got switches in the right place where all we got to do is just throw a couple of switches. Is I really wanted to just commend these folks. I was going to try to do it from over against the wall as Cody was walking up, but I had to come up here. So really, this is just to introduce Cody and to thank the folks that have done all the work behind the scenes and made us look good. So.
And are you gonna have a map, I think?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So he'll run through his presentation. Go ahead.
And try not to pass out.
Welcome, Cody, and thank you.
Thank you. So I'll be going over an overview of the SPP to ERCOT, the remaining load cutover. We'll go over the cutover schedule, substation and circuits, the customers and meters that are affected, the critical circuit communication, or how we identify critical circuits, and then the outage duration as well. So just to give you a summary, with day one, we'll be at 3 different substations. These 3 substations are going to be broken into 3 3-hour time blocks throughout that day. There's a total of 21 circuits that will be affected, and that's going to be a total of 10,006 customers on day one. Moving into day two is also 3 substations they'll be working at. Again, it's broken into 3 3-hour time blocks. A total of 11 circuits are affected, and it's 7,496 customers. I'm going to go back to day one for just a moment. So on day one, even though there's 21 circuits that we're going to be offloading, it's going to be a total of 7 outages throughout the course of the day. So those 3 3-hour time blocks will equate to 7 separate outages. Each of those outages are expected to be less than 30 minutes each. So on day two, same concept, except for that's going to be 6 outages over the course of the day through those 3 3-hour time blocks. The last day, day 3's a bit easier. There's 2 substations that we're working with, a total of 4 circuits. That will be 4 outages that we have, and each of those, it's going to be 2 3-hour time blocks. So over the course of the 3 days, there's a total of 8 substations that we're going to be working at. It's 36 circuits total, and then 19,348 customers. That's the estimated total number of customers that will be affected during the cutover over the course of the 3 days. As far as our critical circuits, our critical facility designation, so we'll be working with Matt to ensure that all of the critical facilities are notified of when their time block will be. But as far as the designation, that's based on whether it's a hospital, water treatment, wastewater facility. Is it dependent on commercial power for life support? So that's going to be things like our nursing homes, assisted living. We'll be working with the EOC in regards to the nursing homes and assisted living just to make sure that they have everything they need, or that the EOC is on standby for them, whether that be EMS or a fire department. Other medical facilities, radio towers, anything that we need for critical communication to operate, whether that be for the electric side, police, fire, EMS. And then lastly is the traffic control devices. That's how we kind of designate whether a circuit is critical or not. So again, we've gone through all of our customers. We've identified which ones are critical. We've identified what circuit each of the facilities is on. and what time block they'll have an outage. And then we'll be communicating and coordinating with them just so that they know when their outage is going to be.
Cody, let's take a pause real quick, just
Sure.
for everybody's reminder. This starts on December 9th? Day one.
Saturday, December 9th is day
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, just so kind of everybody keeps that in perspective, that's what we're looking at doing. And really, the only reason we're having outages is we have to physically disconnect from SPP before we reconnect to ERCOT, because the two are they're not in sync with each other. So that's why we have to have outages. Normally, we could switch it without doing that, but that's the reason for it.
Quick question. Do we have any type of portable generators for critical areas?
I'm not sure if any specific circuit has the ability to go on a complete generator. There are different facilities, like Covenant has a generator at their facility, but that would be on the user end, not so much on the LP&L side that we're providing.
Just looking at that list, though, every one of those either does have or should have, or is supposed to have, let's put it that way.
Go ahead, sorry. You good? Is the breakup like 10, 7,500 and call it 2,000? Is that, I mean, it's the way it has to be done. Obviously, there's just more people affected on those days. Like, it just seems like you'd, whatever, if there's
Spread it out.
19,000, yeah, you'd spread it out where there's like 5, 5, and 5 or whatever.
Right.
No?
So, and we'll get into it just a little bit, but can I go to the next slide?
Yeah,
please?
for sure, sorry.
Okay. So this next slide, I think it's important to understand the difference between the previous cutover and this cutover. So with the previous cutover, we were able to offload at a transmission level. So we were able to offload the entire substation and all of the associated circuits at one time. With this particular cutover, it's being done at a distribution level. So we're not able to offload the entire substation at one time. We have to offload each individual circuit. So the breakup of how it's being done, the breakup of how it's being done is based on the actual circuits that are fed out of that substation. And to keep it all in a flow, I guess, that will work one substation right after the other. The actual amount of work that's taking place between day one and day two, we're still at 3 substations each. So we're doing 3 substations on day one, we're doing 3 substations on day two. The last day is day 3, which is Monday. That's the substation. We're doing 2 substations. So it's broken up.
I'm just
based
a
off
numbers guy,
substation.
so Cody, I appreciate you with the small activity that you're taking charge of. As Blair said, activity. I would call it something else.
Just to go a little bit further into this map, it looks like a jumbled mess, but each of these different colors represents a circuit. So on your left, this is everything that we previously moved over to ERCOT already. And on our right, we have everything that's still in SPP that still needs to be moved over into ERCOT. So again, each of the colors represents a circuit. Each one of those circuits has to be offloaded individually in SPP and then re-energized in ERCOT. And that's what's going to take place over the course of these 3 days. You can see that there is still an overlap between the circuits that are in SPP and what we've already moved over into ERCOT. So some of the outage areas are going to be some of the same outage areas that we offloaded during the first or the initial cutover will be offloaded during this cutover as well, but not the same customer, just the actual area itself. I hope that made sense. So as far as where the load's going, where we're moving the load that's in SPP currently and what substation it's going to at ERCOT. So Dowd has two circuits that are fed out of that substation. They're being split up. One's going to Thompson, one's going to Vicksburg. And those are just the names of the actual substations. Indiana it also has 2 circuits coming out of Indiana. That one will go to Yellow House, one will go to Vicksburg. Stanton has 3 circuits that are fed out of it. Each circuit's going to a different substation. One's going to McKenzie, one to Erskine, one to McDonald. Clutter has 2 circuits that are fed out of it. Both of them are going to our co-op station. Planters has 1 circuit. It's all going to our Wadsworth station. Allen has 3 circuits. It's being split up between Southeast, Slayton, and Chalker. Baton also has 3 circuits. It's all moving to our Chalker station. and Murphy has one circuit. It's being split into two different substations. Half of it's going to Thompson, half of it's going to McDonald. This last map is.
Excuse me, Cody, back on that one. Will those 8 substations that you got that are over on the left?
Yes, ma'am.
And they're transferring to the others, then do they go away, those legacy substations?
That is a good question. They will eventually go away. I don't know exactly how that process takes place, but they will be de-energized.
Okay, at some point in time, they will be going away because I know we're streamlining to have fewer substations. Okay, thank you.
That was the key word that Cody hit on. They're going to be de-energized. That's his area of expertise. He's gonna de-energize them, transfer the load somewhere else. But as far as the disposition of those substations later on,
It's to be decided.
to be decided. We do know Dowd. Dowd's one of the substations that we discussed in, previously. That's gonna be sold to SPS. So,
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
You're good. This slide is really just kind of show you the schedule and what all territories we're going to be working at. So it's kind of hard to see, but this light tan one that has number 1 on it, Dowd Substation, that's where we're starting for the day. That's going to be from 6 a.m. to 9:30. We moved to Indiana. This is all on day 1, so Saturday, December 9th. We moved to Indiana. That's going to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we move to Stanton. That's going to be this lime green one. That will be from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on day 1. That will conclude day 1. Day 2 will start up at our Clutter substation. That's at 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. We'll move to our Planter substation from 9:30 to 12:30 p.m. And then we move back around to this pink section, which is Allen. That will conclude day 3. And that one's from 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. We'll pick up on day 5 at our Batten substation in the brown. Sorry, day 3. At our Batten substation, that's going to be from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then lastly is the Murphy, which is this off-colored white one, from 9:30 to 12:30. The Murphy substation will likely go a lot faster. Just because we've done a lot of the preliminary work at that point. So it's really just offloading, opening up a breaker, closing in a breaker, and simple enough. And that really concludes the actual cutover event. Any questions?
Do any board members have any questions of Cody or Blair? Dr. Ryan?
I do have one question. You said this is day 1, day 2, day 3, and you're going to start day 1 is December.
Saturday,
So are
December
those
9th.
3 consecutive days or 3 consecutive Saturdays?
3 consecutive days. So December 9th, December 10th, December 11th.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
just out of curiosity, how many people are involved in this? What's the crew size that's going from substation to substation?
That's a good question. I don't have the total number count. I can tell you that there are 416 steps, individual switching steps for us to be able to execute. We'll have crew members from every department. So it's our control room, service department, overhead department, underground department, and our substation department. And we're likely to probably have at least 4 crews from each department working throughout this event.
So it's a sizable manpower event on this.
And we're likely to have the call center managed during this time as well.
Any other questions? I had one. Is this one because I think you said that the first cutover, the 70% was with transmission lines. These are distribution.
Correct.
So is this harder than the first 70% or more tedious or help me out?
I would classify it as more tedious. So the actual work involved, there's more switching steps. A lot of the work is not able to be taken place via the control room. So we are not able to do it all remotely from our local control room. We have to coordinate with the field personnel in the field and have them actually physically open or close switchable devices in the field. And that's the process that's a little bit more tedious. We're also energizing equipment for the first time. So engineering and our substation department have built new transformers off of existing substations, and we'll have to do load checks on these transformers also. So it's a little bit more in depth in what we're doing at a distribution level. It's just a little bit more involved.
Just want to thank you because, on a board agenda, it's one item. But like you said, the 416 steps and the pre-work and the current work and then field adjustments that you're going to have made. So please accept our deep gratitude for you and your staff.
One last question, madam. One last, on the call it 20,000 meters. On that, you're notifying all the hospitals, those type of folks, their facilities, out of that 20,000, though, how many is actually residential? Like, how many folks are going to be, do you know on that? Does that make up the majority of it, I would think, or no?
I would say out of just the critical customers, out of the 20,000, there's less than 100 of them that are going to be critical facilities that have been identified. That, I think, to kind of go along with what you're saying, though, or where you might be going, is we're going to try to notify everybody.
Well, I'm saying the majority of the ratepayers, the 19,000, if there's only 100 that are critical, the 19,000, call it 400, are going to be effective for a maximum of 3 hours, roughly, if that was the case at home.
That would be correct. I do want to just clarify. Yes.
Oh, 30 minutes,
30
okay.
minutes.
I thought you,
30 minutes.
okay.
First circuit, less than 30.
But the majority of it will be homes, and they'll be out for 30 minutes. That's what, okay.
So each of the outages will take place, they're expected to be no longer than 30 minutes, and they'll take place during that 3-hour time block. That 3-hour time block, there are a lot of other things that are happening behind the scenes. So the control room has to get confirmation from both SPP, Excel, and ERCOT. Everybody has to run a real-time study. So there's some built-in time during that 3-hour time period that is not specific to the actual outage, but that's how long we'll be working at that particular substation. Good.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful, and we'll have hopefully sunny skies on that Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
I crawled through the wires, so I might as well talk at this point. You'll see me crawling back and forth here. Yeah, so just Cody went over it very well, and to Dan Odom's point, this is over 3 days, but individually per customer, they're going to be impacted. Our estimation is no more than 30 minutes. When we did this in 2021, we gave everybody a 30-minute window. We ended up coming in at a little over 16 minutes per step. And so it went pretty well. So we're hoping that's kind of the same case here. We will alert everybody that we have our schedule fixed. This is really something that these guys have been working on right up until, this week. And so now that we've got our marching orders, we've already built all of the machinery from 2021 that we will plug this information into. So we're going to try to have that same meter lookup tool on our website so that every customer can type their meter number in from their bill, see if they are or not affected, and get a time window of that. It's not going to be perfect and exact. We'll give them kind of, a 4 to 6 hour window where they may be affected, just because if we get behind on schedule, I don't want to tell somebody it's going to be 3 o'clock if it's delayed a little bit. But relatively on that day that it can expect a short outage, because as Joel said, we got to unplug from one side and plug into the other. So yes, I'll address it at y'all's town hall. I'm sure I'll be doing a lot of media. I'm going to chat with the print journalist in the back of the room here after this is done, kind of giving him the schedule. But we'll be putting all this up on our website so everybody knows. My hope is that when we went through this in 21, We were 90 days out from Winter Storm Uri, and this is the first time first time anybody had done something like this. We're the largest load migrating over in state history. So there was some anxiety, but I think everybody saw that there is a schedule to this, and it can be run effectively. And we'll do the same thing we did last time, that we will separate all these points, and then we'll be out there on the day of saying, we're starting here, we're finishing here, we're starting here, we're finishing here, and we'll just methodically go through all of this. There's no perfect time to do this. And obviously on weekends, the folks that we're going to disrupt may be restaurants and folks like that. But weekend does work better for us overall with the load being down and hopefully less business interruption as we go through. So that's the schedule, and we'll put all that out to the public here, in the next week or two.
Thank you. I'm going to go on. I'm going to lose my quorum in just a little while maybe, so I'm going to go to number 14. This is a resolution authorizing the Chief Administrative Officer. This is the license agreement to give them access to a substation as we're doing the swap and everything. So this is the license agreement only, and we'll have a meeting later about the sale of this. So would someone make a motion to approve this license agreement to ensure legal access is granted during the transition period?
So move.
Second.
Second, okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. 8-0. The next thing is the resolution to authorize the chair of the Electric Utility Board for us to execute a severance agreement with executive employees. Are there any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution for the severance agreement.
I will make a motion to approve the one that was revised and hand it out to us.
Mr. Odom makes a motion, second by Mr. Schultz. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Consent agenda, does anyone want to pull any of those items off of the consent agenda?
20.
That's 16 through 20.
Number 20.
If not, I'll entertain I'm sorry.
Number 20.
Number 20, you want to pull off? Let's do this. Let's go ahead and vote on 16, 17, 18, and 19. May I hear a motion to approve those? Dr. Ramirez,
Second.
second, Mr. Davis. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll now consider item number 20. This is the Oracle iCloud services. Who wants to speak to that, please?
I can.
Okay. Is that you, Ashley?
It can be.
Okay. Thank you so much for helping out.
I'm here for. So this one is a resolution the larger part of it is to actually move forward with our current CIS system as well as our work order management system. I'm looking for the cost on here. I think it's the 10 million. And that gets us with those systems for 5 years until the November 30th of 2028. And then the other piece of the resolution, which is the 35,218, that's for the current MTM portion that we're configuring, which is the market transaction manager, so that we can communicate with reps and
Do you have any questions, Mr. Fields?
No, I'm just needed a little clarification on it. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely.
Is there there's no question, is there a motion to approve number 20?
So moved. Second. Second.
Second, Mr. Odom. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion carries. Before we adjourn, the only thing we'll have to do, and we'll do that, you said we'll need a December meeting for the equipment deal,
A
so.
special meeting on
You'll-
December,
Will
week
you
of the
send
5th.
something out to people on choices, or is there any day you're looking at right now that we could look?
We're looking at the week of the 5th. So if y'all can look at your calendars and let us know if there's a day better than another.
Okay, on the 5th, the week of the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th, is there anything that will not, absolutely not work for anybody?
There is a city council meeting on the 5th.
Okay, city council's on the 5th, so
We're looking at about 11 o'clock?
11 o'clock, and it's just one item,
Yes.
so it should be very brief.
Yes.
So,
Can we do that by Zoom?
no, we
have-
can't.
We know
have
we
to
at
have
least
it.
have to have a quorum.
Okay.
Right,
But the only day I'm available that week is Monday the 4th. If you did it at lunch, I'm
That works
out the
for
rest of the week.
the 4th, will that work at lunch?
I'm available.
So December the 4th at lunch, and it should be a short, brief meeting. Okay,
Be able to make it, but
uh-oh.
you got a quorum. That's all right.
Okay, and you know what we're talking about. Okay, so then we'll do that December the 4th, excuse me, but I thought, would that work for you, Dr. Ryan, also at noon on the 4th for everybody?
Yes, I don't leave until the next day.
Okay,
I don't know if my phone's dead.
okay, so we'll
Check.
do that, at least we'll have a quorum to do that. And if there's no other business, very happy Thanksgiving to everyone and great food. And those of you, hopefully that you can come on Wednesday to the Cotton Court to thank those that preceded us for all of their hard work. And we are adjourned.